Hello everyone, welcome to Shannon Gardens. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about one of the flowering shrubs that I have in my garden that I've had for years that I really enjoy, and that is the Rose of Sharon, or the hibiscus syriacus. Now, unlike its name, it is actually not a rose, but it is related to the tropical hibiscus. It can also be known as the althea or shrub althea or hardy hibiscus. Now, these are deciduous shrubs that bloom summer to fall, and they are hardy in zones 5 through 8, although some varieties are hardy in zones 9 as well. And these are really nice shrubs to have because they are starting to bloom just as everything else is kind of fading out. So in the heat of summer, that's when the Rose of Sharon really starts to bloom. I am in zone 7B in the southeast, and I can tell you guys, mine just started blooming about a week ago, and here we are at the end of July, and I know that they're going to bloom to fall as well. So it's just nice to have something just starting to put out blooms when everything is getting a little tired from the heat in the garden. Now, these shrubs can come in single flowers, semi-double flowers, or double flowers, and they come in a variety of colors. I've seen them in pink, purple, violet, blue. I've heard about red. I haven't seen that myself. And white. There's a lot of different varieties to choose from, and they can come in dwarf varieties, or they can come in your standard varieties as well. So some of the nice features about the Rose of Sharon is that they are easy to grow. I've had mine for years. I really don't do a lot to them. And again, if you guys have watched any of my other videos, you know that I'm really not trying to find a lot of flowers where I have to put in a lot of effort. So this is one of those shrubs that I don't really have to do a lot with. So they are easy to grow. They are deer resistant. Now, I haven't seen any problems with deer in my yard bothering these plants, and they are drought tolerant once established, and they are pollinator attractors, so they attract hummingbirds and butterflies and bees. Actually, this morning I went and checked on them, and there were quite a few bumblebees on them this morning, so they are pollinator attractors as well. So the Rose of Sharon does well in full sun. I saw on average that's about 6 to 8 hours of sun, although I did read recommendations where it said that it may need some protection in southern gardens from late afternoon sun. And I will tell you guys that I actually have mine where they are protected from late afternoon sun. So they get sun the majority of the day, but they do have that protection late in the afternoon. And that's not necessarily because I knew what I was doing when I planted these all these years ago. It's just how it happened. And so I haven't had any problem with leaf scorch or anything like that. So I wanted to throw that in there as well. They can also handle high humidity, and I am in an environment that has high humidity, but it does say that you'll want to provide good airflow to help prevent against fungal diseases. So I don't have mine crowded up with any other bushes or anything like that. So they do have nice airflow through them, and I have not myself dealt with any of those fungal issues. The Rose of Sharon is noted to prefer moist, well-draining soil, but again, is drought tolerant once it is established. So the Rose of Sharon typically grows about 8 to 12 feet tall and about 6 to 10 feet wide, but they do come in a multitude of varieties, and you can get dwarf varieties as well. So if you're looking for something that's a little smaller to fit your landscape and you are interested in the Rose of Sharon, then you can look for those dwarf varieties as well if you don't want them to get that big. So I do have the standard variety, and I should preface this by saying that I was gifted with these shrubs originally years ago from a neighbor. So I actually don't know what variety I have. I have an idea of what I might have, but I don't know it for sure. However, when I planted these, I didn't give a whole lot of thought about where I was planting them, and they have gotten bigger than what I would have preferred in that spot. So I actually do prune my Rose of Sharon. And again, if you've watched some of my previous videos, then you know I'm not a big pruner necessarily. I usually try to leave shrubs to grow as they want, but in this instance, I actually do prune the Rose of Sharon, and it's recommended for my area to do that in very early spring. And you don't want to prune in the summer because you could be pruning off your your blooms. So you want to make sure not to prune in the summer. Now, quite frankly, if I hadn't have placed these where I ended up not really wanting them to get as big as they tend to, then I would have left them as is because they do have a nice shape. They tend to grow in a vase shape. So it's a nice natural shape, or you can prune them into a small tree or whatever you prefer to do. But I did want to mention that as well, that I do prune these, but really it's more to fit my landscape and where I planted them. And at this point, I don't want to pull them up and try to move them. I just leave them. So the Rose of Sharon is also noted to have few pests, and the couple that were mentioned were Japanese beetles and aphids. Now, again, through my own experience, I have not had a problem with Japanese beetles or aphids on my plants, but it was noted, so I did want to make sure to mention that to you guys. And I will say that I certainly do have Japanese beetles every summer, and they particularly go to one rose bush that I have in my yard, but I have not had a problem with the Rose of Sharon plants. I feel like I should knock on wood at this point, but I have not had that issue personally myself. Now, one thing that I did want to mention that I haven't experienced myself, but I have learned about is that some varieties of Rose of Sharon can self-seed and can be considered invasive. So if that's something that you want to avoid, then you just want to look for varieties that don't self-seed. Or another suggestion would be to deadhead the seed pods before they drop their seeds. All right, so I thought I would take you guys. I went on a recent visit to a nursery. I was actually looking for another Rose of Sharon to add to my landscape, which I did get. And I just wanted to show you guys a couple of the varieties I did run across, and then show you the Rose of Sharon that I chose for my landscape. And then I'll show you guys my established Rose of Sharon shrubs as well. All right, so let's go have a look. First variety I came across is the Lil Kim, which is classified as a petite shrub, 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, hardiness zones USDA 5 through 9. The next one is the Lavender Chiffon. This is the one that I was looking for and that I got. It's good in hardiness zones 5 through 9 and is 8 to 12 feet tall, 4 to 6 feet wide. This one is called the White Pillar. It is good in zones 5 through 9 and gets 10 to 16 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. And look at this gorgeous flower. This is a double white Althea that's called Jeanne d'Arc. And then we have this double pink Althea, which is called Lady Stanley. Now, I am pretty sure that this is the one that I have in my home that I was gifted from a neighbor that I mentioned earlier. It gets 8 to 10 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide. And then here we have my existing Rose of Sharon shrubs that I have in my landscape. And as you can see, I really think it is the double pink Althea variety. It's got the lighter pink there on the outside of the petals. And I'll show you guys, but on the inside of the petal, it has this nice dark pink right there. And it's just so pretty. It's got the dark green foliage that the flowers are against, and it just really stands out in the landscape. Thank you guys so much for joining me and spending your time with me. I really enjoyed talking about the Rose of Sharon and how much I've enjoyed having it. And it's really nice to have something that is starting to bloom when other things in your summer garden are completing their bloom cycle. So thank you so much again. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, happy gardening and goodbye.